Hey there, welcome. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. What a fun debate that was last night, because now the discussion that you and I have been having is now being had by people who are pretending like everything was okay. And the question is, will Biden be replaced? Will he be the candidate? Well, the follow-up to that is, well, if he's not going to be the candidate, then who is? Well, next in line should be Kamala Harris. So now joining us is the blonde Kamala Harris. Welcome back to the James Show. I bet you're pretty excited about last night's debate because this increases your chances of being the presidential nominee.
Well, listen, first and foremost, I want to say that we are very proud of Joe's performance last night. So, what people saw in comparison to what we saw and what we know are two very different things. And Joe won last night. Okay.
Oh my God. I forgot how much I hate you. Oh God. Okay. So, Kamala, has anyone approached you about being the candidate?
Well, here's the thing. Okay. What we saw last night was a clear contrast between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And sure, it was a slow start, but it was a strong finish, right? And I'm not even looking at last night's performance. I'm looking at his overall performance in office during our time. And I firmly believe that Joe and I will continue to bring the level of service and commitment that we have done and will continue to do going forward.
All right.
Okay?
All right, Kamala, I asked if anyone had approached you about being on the top of the ticket. You weren't anywhere near an answer. Has anyone from the Democrat Party proper asked you about being a candidate?
Well, listen, these are conversations, okay, that may potentially possibly be had at some point should it become necessary. And, we're not going to be spending any of our time rewatching over and over again that debate last night. And we're not going to be talking about the perceived appearance of Joe's frailty and inability to answer questions and his overall cognitive abilities. We're not going to be talking about those. So, we are planning on going forward in the way that we have been going forward until plans should change. Okay?
All right, let me ask the judges. Was that Kamala speak for a yes? I think that was a yes. Was that? Okay, the judges score that as a yes, that whole paragraph. It was just a 3-letter word. Next question is, if you do run, if Kamala Harris happens to be the Democrat nominee, do you have a VP already in mind? Who would you choose as your running mate?
Well, I think that is a really good question. Okay. And, so first, look, in my opinion, as we move forward and really, at the end of the day, we need to unpack what's really at top of mind here. Now, with that being said, and to your point, let me be clear. I'm all about being transparent, unlike Donald Trump, who we don't know who he's going to be choosing. So, at the end of the day, that's what we need to be discussing, right?
It feels like if you have like a donkey with the halter and a lead rope on and you're trying to get him to follow you, but it's staying put no matter how hard you pull, like this donkey's not moving. This is what it's like talking to you, blonde Kamala. I don't know if you understand how frustrating you are. Yeah, that wasn't a compliment. All right. Hey, I got an idea. You're going to be the candidate for the Democrats. We'll kick Joe Biden off. And I have a new campaign slogan for you. It'll be, she's not demented. How about that?
Well, listen, that is a pretty pretty good one right there. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe that's what we're going to go with, right?
Yes, we can cackle. That might be another good one because you got that one down. All right, coming up, we're going to talk to the lady behind Blonde Kamala. Of course, that was not the real Kamala Harris. Of course, it's just a brilliant comedian who has just really mastered it. And we're going to talk to Elsa Kurt because she also does the serious side of political review, and we'll talk to her next. Elsa Kurt, when we continue on the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Thank you to all the people who played bingo with the debate last night. Thank you for all the people who got the bingo cards from the James Show. Thank you very much to all the people who sent pictures of you playing bingo back. I noticed a common theme is that this was done with couples. Married couples were playing together a lot, and you want to hang out at Tom's house because in the background of the picture was like 18 different bottles of bourbon, and me and Tom might have to be new best friends. Our continuing guest is Elsa Kurt. She was Blonde Kamala in the last segment. Elsa Kurt in this segment. I want you to know the lady behind the voice. And really, you do the voice so good. You sound so much like her. Anything you say is funny.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't, I never know whether to laugh at it all or just, gouge my ears out because I hear myself and it's painful for me.
Oh, if I was really a host who had a guest like that on the show, I would react in the same way. Like, I can't stand talking to you. You have to get off my show.
Yeah. I have to cover my mouthpiece here on the phone because I'm trying not to laugh, in my real voice when you're responding to quote unquote her.
So you have some strong opinions. You're not just a comedian. You're also a commenter who also does a very good impression of Kamala Harris. What was your thoughts on last night's debate?
Oh, boy. So crazy. So I was actually, this is pretty funny. I was at a Brooks and Dunn concert last night in Saratoga Springs, and it was an awesome show. Side note, they were amazing.
Oh, that's why you canceled with me yesterday. You're on your way to a Brooks and Dunn concert?
I was, it's all about Brooks and Dunn, man.
Sweet.
You got to do what you got to do. This might be the last one with them, so who knows? But so I was that loser sitting there and checking my phone every 2 minutes to see what was going on. And, at some point I finally put it aside. And as soon as we got back to the hotel, I opened up the phone and we just sat there watching kind of like the recap and the CNN panel after who, the minute we turned the TV on, we could see that they were just near tears. And that told us everything, we needed to know. Like, they all looked like they were about to cry. And, I mean, I can't even get any glee out of this because it's so sad. It is so horrendous. And believe me, I have no love or no sympathy or compassion for Joe Biden. But just as a human being, that basic human compassion that you're compelled to have for another human being. This is such elder abuse. Jill should be, whatever you could throw at her for elder abuse, it should be done because this was appalling. I don't even think Donald Trump enjoyed any of that. I think he was incredibly compassionate throughout that because there was just so much there he could have gone with.
Right. And it's no fun playing the JV team. I mean, you want to win, right, but you don't want to win like that. Do you think he will be replaced?
I mean, how can they not? I tend to think that their goal was to keep him in and just do the switcheroo after. Like, they just wanted to push him through. But, this was just apparent to the whole world now, not just half of it. That this guy he's not going to make it. He's not going to make it. So I think they are going to have to replace him. And, my concern and my question is that, I think these are terrible people, but I don't think they're stupid people. So I have a really hard time believing that they've been really sitting here saying, no, Joe's fine. We actually believe that he's totally fine. And I'm talking about, mainstream media and, of course, the Democrats. You cannot convince me that these people did not already know the state of this man. This has all been, a charade
and they're just public. Admitting it because they can't hide it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. We hit the point.
I think most of America, or half of America, knew that already. The other half is kind of finding out through their social media feed today through various clips. But the big question becomes, okay, if you replace him, with whom?
Yeah, that's a heck of a question, man, because Kamala just does not have the popularity vote. I mean, she is despised within her own party.
Well, I find is she really that despised? What has she done wrong? She's been vice president. She doesn't even have to do anything. How does she have such negatives?
Yeah, I think it's her inability to formulate a sentence that does not sound like a salad. I think that's a huge part of it. She has a very low likability factor. People just simply don't like her. And,
she has an authenticity issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
She comes across as inauthentic, and she does not, the tasks that she's been given. Borders are, for the biggest example. And then they're giving her silly things like AI czar, and I'm forgetting what the other one was. There was another silly one. They're just throwing silly titles at her that she's done nothing with, and she hasn't done anything to prove herself. So, but I think, unless they've got some trick up their sleeve of who they want to replace. I know Michelle Obama gets tossed out there constantly.
I don't think she wants it.
No, supposedly she's been saying, flat out, nope, not interested. But we shall see. I've got my popcorn ready. I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen, like everybody else.
Here's a good measure of how bad Biden did in the debate last night. The top story on CNN, the headline says, takeaway from the Supreme Court's January 6th decision. They have moved on. Now, it's the second story on CNN, but it's not the top. So look. They have to. It's nice to see them finally admit it. I don't expect to get an apology for all the times they've lied and told you he's sharp as a tack. But how much of the American public do you think is really aware of what happened last night? Because I mean, even if the ratings were fantastic, 13 million, 20 million people may have watched it. I'm just throwing numbers out there. I don't know what the ratings are. That's still less than 10% of the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what's more alarming to me is that there are people who did watch it and are still saying, I'd still vote for Biden over Trump. And that's frightening. And they won't, they're doing it because they hate Trump, not because they think Biden is capable by any means. They see that he's not capable. They understand that this is completely up in the air of what's actually going to happen. And they still say, don't care. Still better than Trump. Those are the people that I find the most disturbing, and they exist. I see them in my comment sections,
Well, so I went ahead and looked up the numbers real quick since I was talking out of the side of my neck for a second. Correct the record. About 48 million people. They say CNN's reported number is 47.9 million people. So 48 million people watched the debate last night. So that's right at 15% of the country. The other 85% are probably going to pick up some of this news from today or just looking at memes on Facebook and X. But when you look at how that compares to the previous election cycle and the two debates in 2020, 73 million viewers, 63 million viewers. So it's way down. The interest is way down. What's up with that?
Yeah, you know what? That actually surprises the heck out of me. I would have, if you had told me to guess, I would have guessed that the viewership would have been way higher, and simply because of people want to watch the circus. I was trying to think of another word to use other than the one I wanted to. The circus, the dumpster fire of what that was going to. I managed to come up with two. The dumpster fire that was, likely to be Biden's performance. And of course, people wanted to watch and see if Trump would go off the rails and, go off the cuff like he likes to do at times. And, I simply would have thought more would have been watching that. So that's strange to me, actually.
Right. But just to perfect your metaphor, if you took a whole circus tent, you hit it with a shrink ray and you could fit it in a dumpster, and then you set the circus in the dumpster on fire, I think would be a more accurate description of what you saw. Tell the people listening what you do outside of just being the blonde Kamala, because, you get a ton of YouTube hits and everything like that. But tell them about the Elsa Kurt side.
Sure, absolutely. So, I started everything as an author. I'm an author of somewhere around 25 books. Some of them are in revision right now to be re-released. And I have the Elsa Kurt Show, which is a little podcast with my buddy Clay Novak. And we talk about, social political commentary. And he's the straight man. I'm the goofball. What a surprise. Nobody would expect that, right? But yeah, everything. I'm on, of course, all the social media platforms, Elsa Kurt Official, and elsakurt.com is probably like the fastest, easiest way to find everything. But yeah, I just have a good old time trying to make light and make fun of things that really want to make us scream and cry and pull our hair out. So I try and offer a little comedic relief along with some information.
Thanks for coming on the James Show again. I really appreciate it, Elsa. Big fan.
Thank you.
All right, and I'm going to ask you now some of the same questions I was asking Elsa. Is Biden going to continue to be the nominee? Is he going to be replaced? Who is going to replace him? How on earth could they possibly pull this off? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. We're also going to do Name That Artist coming up next. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I know, we're kind of having a fun time gloating today. It's a Friday. Let us have some fun, because that debate, that was great last night. And look, I don't want to break my arm patting myself on the back, but my debate cards were incredible. Am I right? Yes. They were a big hit. Got a lot of good pictures back. Thank you for everyone who got debate cards, used them, had a party with them. Really brought some people together. Where I was at Bottle Rockets last night, there were a couple people that came up asking me for debate cards. I guess they figured out who I am, because it wasn't very packed last night, which is good. I'm so old, I don't like to go to packed bars. I like to, can I have a seat? Is there going to be an open seat? Fine, then I'll go. And then there were some other people that didn't know who I was, didn't know I was James Parker, or even that I have a show on WBAP or anything, but they saw me and a couple of, because I was checking on the other listeners who were playing, like, hey, did you get this one? Did you get that one? Because I'm not keeping up with all 4 cards myself. And they're like, y'all are playing bingo? Can we have cards? I was like, sure, here, take some cards. And so then they were playing too. And they were like, where did you get these? I'm like, well, I got them off this amazing show called The James Show. It's on WBAP. And they're like, oh, well, what a good idea. I'm like, oh, thank you. It was my idea. What do you think? Is Biden going to be replaced? Let's ask Zach in McKinney. He called 800-288-9227. Welcome to WBAP. What do you think, Zach? Is he going to be replaced?
Biden will not be replaced, and here's why.
Okay.
There's absolutely no avenue for the Democrats, the DNC, to proceed down to get him replaced. The only way is if he were to die in office, or he resigns from this campaign, steps aside. He is a narcissist from the 10th degree. His wife is is consumed with power just as much, if not more. And they are probably the 2 most consumed, power-hungry people in Washington, D.C. in the modern history of politics, outside of maybe Hillary Clinton. They are not going to step aside. And as his dementia continues to get worse, people typically become more defiant and resistant. And
right.
So he thinks he's a god. He thinks he's done nothing wrong, and he has been the greatest president ever. He is not going to step aside. The Democrats know this. They can talk to him every day, beg him, have Obama, have Bill Clinton, have anybody, David Axelrod, his closest advisor, Tom Klein, to advise him that this is the best for America. He's not going to listen. I would be shocked if he were to do it.
How do they talk him into it? Because he's going to ask the same questions that we've been talking about for an hour and a half today on this show. If not, because he's probably saying, who are you going to replace me with? Who's better than me? Who's more likely to win them? Who's polling better than me? And yeah, I don't think he's going to step down.
Those are questions that he and Jill would ask, and any of the people that stand by him to the bitter end, which there's a lot. It would have to take an army of Democrat major leaders, from Chuck Schumer, Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, you name them, all have to come and just basically put him away.
Well,
That's
you know
the only way this is going to happen.
Well, there's another way. They have to do what the Ukrainians and Russians and Chinese and Serbians and Kazakhs and all the other crooked people he's doing business with did. You just have to back up a dump truck full of money to his front lawn, and if that pile of money gets big enough, I bet he would step aside.
No, possibly, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, and who would pay for it? Right. That's
exactly.
weird. All right, Zach. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. You have 1 hour left. Your weekend starts in 1 hour, really 54 minutes, but who wants to be a jerk about it? We're having fun, though, on the show. Best debate ever last night. We're having fun sifting through the fallout from last night's debate, because now people are asking the questions that have been denying it all the time. Something you and I have been talking about for months. Is this guy really going to be the nominee, or are they going to replace him? And then after being told, oh, he's sharp as a tack, how dare you say that? You're just scared, or whatever the excuse was. Now they're like, okay, he really is daffy. What are we going to do? Well, it must be a really good day over on the Trump side of things. So we're going to talk to a Trump campaign deputy communications director. That is a really long name. Carolyn Sunshine, welcome to the James Show.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Is your name really Sunshine, or is that like a radio name?
It really is. That's fact check true.
So you're descended from a long line of sunbeams or something like that?
A long line of greatness.
Right. No, but my last name's Parker, so I think my ancestors, I'm descended from a long, noble, prestigious line of valets, maybe? I don't know. But how happy are things over in the Trump campaign offices?
Well, yeah, we're happy for our country, because President Trump didn't just win that debate last night. He dominated it. And it was very apparent right from the get-go. I mean, from the first 2 minutes in, Joe Biden's presence on that debate stage conveyed weakness and incompetency, and it was frightening to the American people, and it was emboldening to our enemies who were watching, right? It wasn't just the American people who were watching last night. It was our enemies on the world stage. By contrast, President Trump's presence brought comfort and hope to the American people and fear to our enemies. And that's what we want, right? That's what we haven't had in a long time. So President Trump dominated that debate stage. It's a great, I think Americans wish that the election was today so that they could cast their vote for President Trump and get Joe Biden out of office immediately. That is how high the stakes are. And last night, let's be clear, last night wasn't really a debate. Last night was the death of Joe Biden's presidency. It was the death of his campaign. And it was also the death of any last shred of credibility that the Democrat Party or liberal mainstream media has with the American people, because they have known for years that Joe Biden is in decline, that he's incompetent, that he's unfit to serve. And these people have covered it up for the last 4 years while they've let our country go to hell. And now they wake up this morning and go, oh, it's time for Joe to go. So this is, again, it's not just an indictment of Joe Biden and his presidency. It's also an indictment of the Democrat Party and the mainstream media that continues to lie to the American people. And if there was any hope that came out of that debate stage last night, it was because of President Trump.
Good Lord. Carolyn Sunshine coming in hot. No pun intended. But from right, from the point of view of the Trump campaign, I mean, do y'all really even want him to drop out and be replaced? Wouldn't you rather run against this guy?
We want what's best for our country. And what's best for our country is, like I said, to get President Trump into the Oval Office as soon as possible. I think we're concerned that, for at least the time being, Joe Biden remains the commander-in-chief of our military. He remains the one who's behind the desk in the Oval Office for at least the next 4 months. And when you see the decline and when you see what you saw on stage last night, 4 months feels like, too long. So, look, I mean, obviously Democrats, we've seen the headlines all today. I think it's the first time I've ever seen the New York Times opinion page reflect any shred of reality. You see opinion pieces and headlines saying Joe Biden is my friend. It's time for him to drop out. I have anxiety. Joe Biden needs to drop out of the race. But again, it's too little too late for these people to wake up. Joe Biden's been in decline, like I said, for a long time. But the stakes have never been higher for our country. Look, it doesn't matter who the Democrat Party puts up. It's very clear what the American people want. They want President Trump. It's why you're seeing him today visit Chesapeake, Virginia, a place where, sure, people would say traditional Republicans don't go. It's because President Trump has a message that resonates with all Americans. We saw the word that independents used after watching the debate last night and after watching President Trump's performance was hopeful. Hopeful was how they described President Trump's performance. So, and that's what we're seeing. President Trump is saying, the reason I'm doing this, the reason I'm getting up every morning and fighting on behalf of the American people is because people need hope. And that's what he's delivering. Doesn't matter who the Democrats put up. President Trump is continuing to make inroads with voters traditionally outside of the Republican base because the American people trust him on the issues that are most important. to them, and they watched in his debate performance last night that he is strong, and he has a command presence on the issues that are most important to them. That's what people want.
All right, Carolyn Sunshine, you work with the Trump campaign. I saw Lara Trump say that the VP is already picked. They just haven't announced it yet. You want to announce it on the show?
Well, since we're just among friends, can you keep it between me? I'm just kidding. I would tell you that the only...
I was leaning in on that one, Carolyn.
I would tell you that the only person who knows who President Trump is going to pick as his vice president is, of course, President Trump himself. But good news is when President Trump makes news, he certainly has a way of making headlines. So I'm sure you and your listeners will know. I would also say that whoever President Trump selects for his vice president, Kamala Harris, is going to have her hands full on the debate stage later this summer. And I don't think she's going to be able to tackle her way out of that one. Then again, after last night's debate, which again, more was the death of the Democrat Party, we'll see if they even agree to anything further.
You must have done 10 of these phone calls because you sound very prepared.
Well, you know what? I take my leadership from the top, right? And President Trump is prepared, and he expects that of all of us. We love the American people. We love getting to talk directly to all of you, and we feel, unlike Joe Biden and his campaign, that it's important to come with the facts, come with the truth. We want to be honest with the American people. We think President Trump has a great message, and we love being able to share it, and we take that seriously.
Carolyn, when is he going to announce his VP pick? Is he going to wait for the convention?
Well, like I said, the only person who knows is President Trump. And as good as I am at my job, hopefully, I don't have a crystal ball in front of me, and I'm not inside President Trump's head, although I would like to be.
If y'all knew when he was going to announce, you could tell me that. He's going to wait till the convention. You could tell me that. Do we know that?
I would tell you President Trump's favorite phrase is, "We'll see what happens."
Carolyn Sunshine, you can't blame me for trying. Thank you very much. She's with the Trump campaign. And let's get back to the discussion we were having. Is he going to be replaced? Did you see that last night? If you haven't seen it, you are really getting a pretty good summary on your social media feeds right now, whether you're on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever your preference is. What you see scrolling through there, oh, it's real this time. They're not covering up. They've taken the mask off, and they've stopped pretending that this guy is okay. Now we're having the real grown-up. It's ugly. It's not fun. But we're finally having the real grown-up discussion that you and I have been dying to have for, 3-4 years now. Is he going to be replaced? Who will replace him? 800-288-WBAP. Your call's next. 800-288-9227. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. All right. Welcome back to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP. Now on FM at 93.3. One thing we learned about last night's debate, or from last night's debate, I made bingo cards and I sent them out to whoever sent me an email, and a lot of people played at home. And then I asked them to take a picture and send it back to me of them playing bingo. One thing we learned, WBAP listeners have huge TVs. Like, you think your TV is big, you should see the billboards that some of our other listeners have. It is so impressive. It looks like this big TV on the side of the American Airlines Center. But really, the takeaway that the conversation just started the second that the debate was over. The conversation was started. All right, so do we replace this guy or what? Well, let's ask. Do we replace this guy or what? 800-288-9227. Let's go to Jesse in Arlington. You're on The James Show. Thanks for calling WBAP.
Yeah, my TV takes up half my house.
I'm so impressed with you people. I love that.
The same reason that Biden is not going to withdraw from this race is the same reason why he won in 2020, and the reason why he did not campaign, because he knew the fix was in. Even Rush Limbaugh said the fix was in. He didn't campaign, and that's the problem now. The issues of 2020 by the judges legislating from the bench rather than for state laws rather than their state Congress, those same laws had not been changed back. And so the fact that Biden bombed this debate is, in my opinion, it's irrelevant.
Well,
and we need to look at, I know the media is going to say, oh, we need a new campaign. We're going to need a new person, the liberal media. We got to look at the liberal establishment and see what their inspiration or their excitement is to replace Biden. So that's my
Well, I like your addition in the fact that, if they're going to be stuffing the ballots like they did in 2020, why would they even care who their candidate is? Well, there is such thing as losing so bad you can't stuff the ballots hard enough. And I think that's one of the reasons Hillary knew that she was going to lose, is because they had the ballot stuffing. But like the week before that 2016 election, she got polling numbers that she didn't share with the public, but she knew she was going to lose like Wisconsin and some other places that she thought she had in the bag. So even if they did try the ballot stuff, and she was going to lose anyway, because one of the bulwarks against the claim that, oh, it got stolen from us, it was cheated. Well, it just went so damn big they can't outstuff it.
And which is why if you go vote, take 10 people with you.
Right. All right, Jesse.
Taking 10 people with me. We got to get that ground game, because the fool you once, fool me twice, and
fool me never get fooled again.
Maybe.
Because I think that's how it officially goes. Jesse in Arlington, here's the impossible question: if Biden steps down,
sure,
who replaces him?
If he steps down, I think that the Democrats, when it comes to liberal, and they have to reach their extreme woke left, and they're forgetting their Bill Maher medium of the road.
They are
getting that crowd.
Right. So who would that be?
They would have to go with Newsom.
All right.
In my opinion,
a lot of people seem to be saying that. You make a lot of sense. Thanks for calling, Jesse.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's go to David in Dublin. You're on WBAP. What you got?
What's happening, James? Okay, first, Newsom's an idiot. He's not going to be it. What they're going to have to do is they're going to have to sit Biden down and show him footage from the last year and say, that's you. That's not AI. That's not altered. That's you doing that. You're going to have to step down. So they get him to step down. They're going to have to give Kamala a golden parachute that she can't decline.
Okay.
And then they're going to bring in Mark Cuban. He's jealous of Trump. They're both billionaires. They both had to bid on television shows. They both own sports franchises. I don't know about Mark Cuban's wife or not, but I guarantee she's not as hot as Melania. And I think that's what they're going to try to do.
Well, I would love for that to happen, but just the same reason Michelle Obama won't run. His life is better being Mark Cuban now than Mark Cuban a president. You realize he would probably destroy his empire. He doesn't get to be a billionaire anymore. He has to what? He has to go to sleep and wake up in the White House almost every day. He has to answer questions from the media. He has to go to a bunch of meetings. He has to do a bunch of stuff he doesn't want to do. He has to go to fundraisers. He has to go to rallies. He has to go to the diplomatic meetings with the.
He's been more and more outspoken politically in the last few years than he ever has, and he just sold the Mavericks, so he's got free time. I think these are the Democrats' best chance.
David, I love that idea because Mark Cuban is sort of the Democrat that appeals to me, even of all people, because I'm more of a libertarian and he's more on the libertarian side of the Democrat Party. Yes, such thing exists, but you are so right about his long-standing feud with Donald Trump, and maybe just out of a personal vendetta, I could see that. I would love to see Mark Cuban run, David. And let me tell you, and thank you for your call. Let me tell you my I only have like one or two Mark Cuban stories, but one of them many moons ago, and I mean, this was like 2003, maybe 2004. I think it was 2004. I was working on another radio station here in town, and we would do speed dating, and I would go record me talking to the other ladies there, and we would edit out the funny stuff and play it on the show. Well, one day my segment got bumped because Mark Cuban called in, and I'm like, hey man, I spent like hours working on this, but no, I get bumped because he owns the Mavericks and he's a billionaire. So in that segment, Mark Cuban told a story about when he met Donald Trump for the first time. Now, Mark Cuban had just sold the big company that he had started with some other guy, and they split something like $6 billion. So Mark Cuban is running around with like $3 billion of net worth and it's like liquid assets. It's just almost unheard of. And he was worth more than Donald Trump at the time. Well, he is a new entrant into this circle, this higher level of society that you and I don't get to go to. He is at a party Donald Trump is throwing on the roof of one of his buildings in downtown New York. And on the roof is a beautiful setup with bars and entertainment. And there's little cabanas and food and all this great stuff was set up. But even in that penthouse setting, there was like a penthouse on the penthouse. And Donald Trump put his arm around Mark Cuban and he's like, listen, kid, if you do good, if you work hard and stay in school, maybe one day that'll be you up there where I'm at. And at the time, Mark Cuban was worth more money than Trump. And Mark Cuban, I think he took personal offense to that, like the Michael Jordan. I took that personally. And there was like real animus in his voice telling that story. Like, I think it upset him more than it should have. But yeah, that was just one of a many. That was the first time I was made aware of it. And since then, I have watched. And he's right. The guy from Dublin's right. There is some sort of personal beef going on. They've had conversations I don't know about where they've exchanged some ugly words because Donald Trump says ugly things about Mark Cuban and Mark Cuban says ugly things about Donald Trump. And that would be a fantastic pick for president. Because even though he's on Team Blue, of all the Democrats that could be president, wouldn't Mark Cuban be one of the top maybe 5 guys that you could stomach? See, this is why we have these conversations. That was good. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Will Trump be the nominee in November? It's the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. One thing you don't see on the other side of the desk here, on the other side of the microphone, being a talk radio host, is how absolutely nice people are. You know how many people have said thank you for sending me bingo cards, and they sent pictures of them and their wife playing, or them and their husband playing, or them and their kids playing. And look, they make like social media posts, or they go track me down on Twitter. James, thank you very much for the bingo cards. This one's from some lady named Emo. Is that really your name? James, your bingo cards were awesome, and it blew my mind how bang on all the squares were. Thank you for playing. I'm honored that anyone even gives a rip to ask for bingo cards. But the big question, since the debate's over, the conversation immediately turned, even on CNN and MSNBC, they looked at each other and they'd be like, so we replace him now? Is that what we do? What do you think they should do? 800-288-9227. Let's ask Bill in Pottsboro. You're on the James Show. What do you think they should do?
Well, I hope they get hung around. I hope they get Biden hung around their neck, because all they've been saying for the last month is how Republicans have been doing AI and making things up and taking things out of context. And they knew that was not true.
They knew it wasn't sheep fakes, right?
100%. And I hope they get it hung around his neck. I hope he refuses to leave. I hope he stays in there and says, I'm the president. You guys backed me up when you knew. And he's not going to say when you knew this was wrong, because I feel horrible for the man. I don't agree with not one thing he's ever done in his political life, but I don't want anybody to have to go through the things that he's going through. It's got to be horrible. But you know what? They've been playing the game, so guess what? Here's what you get. This is your prize for playing the game. And you've been covering for him. Now you own him.
Well, look, that's good, and you're right. I would just like to add to that. I would like to see there be some sort of accountability to all the people that lied to your face over the last 6 months. It's one thing if you said, 8 years ago he's fine, or even 4 years ago he's fine. But these people, there was the montage by a service named Grabian, and thanks for bringing this up, because I was trying to get to this, and I'm kind of running out of showtime. Thank you, Bill in Pottsboro. Grabian is one of these sources that pulls news clips and sound bites for it's like a news source, something news departments depend on. And sometimes they just put together the best montages. And one of them is just from the last 6 months, the people in the media and politics telling you how sharp Biden is. We now know that that's not only a lie, but they knew it was a lie when they said this stuff.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden is the best Biden ever. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been.
President Biden has a photographic memory. His understanding and mastery of a complicated geopolitical situation, remarkable.
He is sharp. intensely probing and detail-oriented and focused.
I was sitting, 2 feet from him across the table, and he was, intense.
Have trouble walking sometimes? Yeah, so did FDR. He wanted GD war.
But he's totally focused. He's very sharp. They say he's sharp in meetings and so on.
Very lucid, very well informed. Biden is stately and he comes with gravitas. There hasn't been, as far as I know, a single claim that Biden made a mistake.
Ageism is an issue. Americans have a rich history of holding people's physical characteristics against them. Okay, you can ask African Americans.
He's older. That doesn't mean that he is unfit, and there's a lot of ageism there.
Now, this age attack, this obsession by the right.
Joe Biden may not be able to speak for himself the way that he used to. I think people should be speaking up for Joe Biden.
Americans and reporters in the media are just judging him by a physical appearance, and it's horribly unfair. Age is an asset.
He showed exactly how with it he is.
The flip side of this coin is that he has a tremendous amount of wisdom and experience.
Have you heard any concerns from anyone who has met with President Biden about him seeming a little slower?
No.
More wild speculation from a bunch of people who have probably never been in a room with Joe Biden and certainly don't have medical degrees that I'm aware of.
You don't get paid for performance to be president. The job is not a job of endurance. I don't see Donald Trump out bike riding like Joe Biden.
It's the Hillary's email. All they have is that he's old.
He can clear a dementia bar, and that's probably a win.
The media are not fair, and they're getting less and less fair, and things are frightening. You have Wall Street Journal running a horribly sourced piece saying that Biden is unfit.
Dubious Wall Street Journal report about the president's acuity.
Shoddy story by the Wall Street Journal questioning Biden's mental fitness.
Wall Street Journal story had a lot of flaws, as you said. But Sinclair, they didn't do any original reporting. They didn't follow up. They didn't do any work.
But a huge part of the Mueller report talks about Russian disinformation tactics. And one of the themes this election cycle is that Joe Biden is too old to lead. And so everyone is seizing upon this. And it is a classic disinformation tactic. And I think the best thing that we can do is to prepare the American people for this false narrative.
Oh, that is so delicious. Again, credit goes to Grabian for putting that together. Wow. All those people owe you an apology. All those people need to be doing public retractions. Remember when I said earlier in the show, I did a public retraction. I told you I was wrong. I thought Dana Bash and Jake Tapper were going to be very biased and unfair and try and spring a trap or abuse the microphone. And I was wrong. And I tell you I'm wrong. And there's no shame in it. Of course I'm wrong sometimes. I'm a human being. I say wrong things every show. It should bother you, though, that you have people that don't admit that, don't go back and correct their mistakes. They just move right on to the next lie. Anyone go to jail for all the lying about the COVID-19? All the people that knew they were lying when they told you social distancing's a thing or mask work or this is a great vaccine, all those lies. Got to keep you from going to church over these lies. No big deal there. That's terrible. And think about it like this. Can you lie that much at your job? Because I think back before I was in radio, like one of my last jobs before I was in radio, I waited tables at this place up in kind of Addison area named Dream Cafe. If I lied that much being a waiter, I would be fired. But these people get to keep their jobs. I don't know what we do about that, but just complaining, just throwing it out there. Pretty weird. Steve in Weatherford, you're on the James Show. What do you think?
My biggest fear is at the Democratic convention, they draft Newsom and Michelle Obama as the top of the ticket, and possibly Newsom and Hillary Clinton as VP. But I think they're going to go with Newsom and Michelle Obama as VP.
If they could get Michelle Obama to be a part of this in any way, shape, or form, they have a good shot at winning. If they could get her to be the top of the ticket, I think she wins. If she is the VP, though, I haven't even really put a whole lot of thought into that, but she could boost Gavin Newsom if you join those forces. You know, don't call them and tell them that's probably their best option at this point.
Fingers crossed they don't figure it out.
Right. Thank you very much, Steve in Weatherford. If you want to be next, 800-288-9227. I'm sure we're not the only people to think of that, Steve. 800-288-9227. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, the debate's over. we do have a confirmation, for whatever that's worth, that Joe Biden's certainly planning to do the ABC debate coming up in September. Really? You going to do this again? And ultimately, there's a few questions you have to answer before you can get to the big question of, will he be replaced? Because the will he be replaced, you don't know. You don't know until you answer who would they replace him with. Because if everyone polls even worse than him, or everyone who's willing to run polls even worse than him, then if you're going to lose, why would you burn somebody else? Why not just let him take the L? You're going to be done with him anyway. And why would you put some lose stink on someone else? Unless you wanted to get rid of somebody like Kamala Harris. They kind of feel like they're stuck with her. This would be an easy situation for the Democrats if they hadn't done a DEI hire for their vice president. If they picked someone under, I don't know, for merit more so than her genitalia and skin pigment. See, this is what happens. The person who's supposed to be the next qualified, next most popular person to slide in the seat, that's who you're supposed to pick for your VP. But no, they had to check some identity boxes, and now they're stuck with her. Or maybe they can take advantage of this situation and take this loss that they're going to get anyway, put her in that seat. And now when they take the loss, they can say, oh, Kamala, thanks for trying. We really appreciate your efforts. And then when she comes back in 2028, you can say, no, you already lost. We already tried you. And they don't look like bad guys. Because the problem with passing over Kamala is they're going to get criticism. Excuse me. You're going to pass over a woman of color for what? Another old, middle-aged, straight white guy? And we're the worst people on planet Earth. Worse than bears. That's one of the big arguments I have against this Gavin Newsom talk. Really? You're going to skip over Kamala Harris and you're going to put in what? Another crusty, old, straight white male. They're the worst. So it's sort of a no-win situation for those poor suckers. You almost feel bad for them. But the reason why I know they're serious is because for the first time in your life, you saw CNN do a serious fact check on a Democrat after a debate. Now, this doesn't come from the Trump campaign. This didn't come from FoxNews.com. This didn't come from some random podcast like All Democrats Are Losers podcast. This came from CNN. And this wasn't after they had some time to think about it. This was their initial reaction. This was last night on CNN. They did a fact check.
Some of them, he said, he's the only president in a while who didn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world. Troops have, of course, died on his watch. He said he's put in a $15 per shot cap on insulin and Medicare. It's a $35 a month cap. He said it's a $200 cap on overall drug spending in Medicare. It's $2,000 a year. He said the border now has fewer crossings than when Trump was in office. That's generally not true. He said, or at least strongly suggested, unemployment was at 15% when he took office. It was actually 6.4. He said Trump wants to get rid of Social Security. Trump doesn't. He said billionaires pay 8.2% in taxes. It's much higher. He said Trump told Americans to inject bleach amid COVID. We know Trump made foolish comments about scientists studying disinfectant injection, but didn't frame it as advice to people. And Biden said the Border Patrol endorsed him. No, its union supported the border bill he supported, never endorsed him himself.
Wow. That's CNN. And no, they do not get credit. Oh, yeah, they get a smidge of credit. They get the minimum amount of credit for finally admitting. But it's something that you could see. It's something that everyone could see this whole time. Now they've just gotten to the point they can't deny it anymore. That's heartening and disheartening at the same time. Like, how bad does it have to be before they'll admit that this guy is not all there? And the answer is infinitely bad. It is infinitely bad. They did not admit it because it's the right thing to do or because they're telling the truth. They're admitting it now because he's going to lose the election and they're trying to get out of it. They would have lied to you all day, every day if the polls were going to be okay. They would have continued the fantasy, the fallacy, the dream that this guy's all there if and only if it looked like they were going to be able to cling to power after the November election. They're not doing this out of any ethics, out of any journalistic integrity. They're doing this because they don't want to lose. They're doing this because they're political hacks. And just remember that everything they report on, it's going to be the same people that lied to you all these months and years about how sharp this fellow was. And that's what you really enjoy about this debate is the exposure. Finally, it's been exposed. And y'all can quit lying to our face because we knew you were lying. We knew that you knew he had lost a step. You just were hoping to hide it through November. Now it's exposed. So fun stuff. Listen, have a good weekend. Over the weekend, though, if you have an itch that only the James Show can scratch, check out some of the stuff you missed on the podcast. It's available WBAP.com, the WBAP app. It's a free app. Download it. Or you're already listening to podcasts. Just search for the James Show. See if it pops up there. In the meantime, stay put. Mark Levin's next, and you know he's going to be coming with a big fat blowtorch today. So that's going to be a fun show. Thanks for listening. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.